Hey guys, welcome to Clockwork, Dan to Noodles for another breakdown of the Ancient Magus Bride, episode number 9. We go definitely into the end game now of the season. We've only got 3 episodes to go. Things are getting really interesting. This week's episode, there's a lot of meta going on. And you guys remember in my first episode, I think it was episode number 1, where I broke down the OP. A lot of the stuff that we're seeing in the OP is actually coming out in this episode in particular. If you haven't already, go check out my midway review. I crowned top 3 OPs EDs. The top of the OPs was Ancient Magus Bride, spoiler alert, just because of the story being told within the actual OP. Do check that out, but also recheck the breakdown for that, just because there's a lot going on. I will try to bring out some of the pointers this week. I think this week's going to be a bit more of a colour symbology kind of dive. There's a lot going on at a meta level, which is really quite cool. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you're looking after yourselves. It's so cold. I had to defrost my car now and it's taken like ages. My car is just really bad at defrosting. It just takes ages, so I'm having to leave a lot earlier for work, which really sucks when you've got to start really early. Yeah, I just hope it's a lot warmer where you guys are. The UK suddenly took a dip. The thing about the UK is it will be really warm or mild. I think last week it was actually decently mild, and now suddenly overnight it's gone to the point where people are talking about snow, and I'm like, okay, yeah, winter is here. It literally arrived in one day. Just make sure you guys are wrapping up. I did have to admit, the first thing I really did like of the episode was Dark Zoe. That was so cool. The entire demeanor just changing, and suddenly that confidence. I know that Zoe doesn't technically remember what happened, but it was really cool, Zoe. You'll have to take our word for it. I love everything about it. Just that demeanor changing, the eye changing, it just everything. Dark Zoe actually helping the wolf. I totally also forgot that Zach was there, so him hiding behind a tree, letting Zoe do the work, I get it. I guess he would have probably stepped in if things had gone horrifically wrong, but maybe he just believed that Zoe's powers were just that good. But it does seem to be the first character who maybe has been set free. We did mention the things on the side of the head, whether it was just helping to control her. As she says, it's a curse that was placed upon her. I didn't want to see the wolf die. I know her actions are bad, but I also saw her being trapped, controlled. I don't know if her kids are alive. I really hope there is a answer to that question, whether her kids are still alive. We know the husband is not. We don't know what happened with the kids and whether they are still just being used as leverage by the grandmother, because everything does seem to slowly be coming out this week as well. Philomela detaching her soul in one of those moments where I was like, ooh, is that a bit of Horcruxness going on? Because I have occasionally likened bits and pieces to that franchise. I did think it was cool. So she took out the soul to somehow get past Chisei is what I took from this. That Chisei had her sent or something, and then she took it back in again. But it does seem that even with the circumstances, her soul being returned, she is still cracking. Damage is looking quite painful. I don't know if we're going to be able to rescue her, because the end of the episode is quite telling as well. It would seem that the curse came from the book. The curse is reading, I guess, her darker thoughts, whilst in the next chunk, seems like her real self just wants to be saved. That self now is being overpowered by all of these negative energies that are going on in the curse, which is making things amplified. We already knew that Philomela was present at the attack on Lucy's family. The fact that her spiders were on the wall, it wasn't a big shock. I don't think the reveal was supposed to be that, oh my god, groundbreaking, because we already had quite early highlights and flags in the show that this was the case, so it wasn't really a shock. I don't know if this was supposed to be a bit more impactful. It was something that we already knew and we'd known for quite some time, so that itself wasn't really shocking. I guess the next bit I really did like, which is when it goes into perhaps the strongest part of the episode, was the transition of hair into these beautiful roots. And it's nice to see that Chisei's symbology is actually more nature and roots, which I really like, because Elias's symbology is more these fawns. They really do go together really well. They're both naturey, but at the same time, I can see there being fawns and roots almost pairing up nicely together. Now, let's quickly talk about the OP, because you have to when it comes to talking about the next sequence. The fact that the OP has highlighted a lot of what is to come in this very episode. Seeing the kids. The magical thing about the OP is there's this magical moment where Philomela opens her eyes, literally, and she turns into the kid. It's like that's supposed to be the magic in the middle of it. I like the fact that it's all kind of playing out like a bit of a play as well. Everybody is now back to their kids' selves, which I think is really nice symbology because it's innocence. Everyone's now talking pretty frank. They're all going back to a time where things may have been less complicated, but at the same time we are reviewing things back to back. Maybe Chisei coming across as a kid is less threatening than her coming across as an adult. I love the fact that she tries to help her find parts of herself, because all of this is hidden within the OP, those flowers, the petals, unlocking and leading the kids. You can see also in the OP of her leading them around, because Chisei is the one who essentially knocks this whole scene into motion by, I guess, doing something within her powers to make this happen. It comes at a bit of a cost. So it seems they've gone into this place where she can talk to her on a subconscious, innocent level, but it comes at a cost where Chisei's memories are also intertwined. All of their memories, or just how they feel, it's hidden in this world. You can see a lot with Chisei and Philomela that both of them are very similar. Both of them have experienced loneliness growing up, but as an outcast. They've both never seen their parents. There's a lot of connecting factors between the two that are really coming out during this, and I think that's also perhaps why Philomela starts to relax and also open up around her, because she starts to, I guess, feel sorry and also connect with Chisei. Symbolism and a colour theory starting to come into this now is the long corridor effect, and you've got the breaking of glass as every single memory is lived through. As you live through something, you're releasing the energy. Sometimes they say that to get over something, you kind of have to run it through in your brain enough to get rid of those emotions that you carry with it. I like the fact that she's, in a sense, releasing this. This is what happened. I'm releasing it. I'm now gathering a part of myself. The blue is quite nice, because initially the negative for a blue is it's cold, it's lonely, it's chilly color. I guess for winter especially, we associate blue with winter. Think about things like Frozen. The entire logo is just blue, and her dress is blue because it's a very cold color. However, on the flip side, which can sometimes be ignored, is blue is a healing color. It's very strong, and the fact that we're going through this, in a sense, like a bit of therapy. She's getting things off her chest. She's going through it and finding all these pieces, able to actually face it with somebody by her side. In a sense, going through all of this is kind of healing her. Now, let's talk about Chisei and her colour for a minute, because she's also the opposite of what we're now seeing. She is often associated with reds when you're on top of this school. She's got that beautiful red sunset behind her. There's nice warm colours. It's passionate. It's comforting. She's there to help her through. And she says, I'm here until you need it, until you are ready. The fact that she also says that I'm returning this favour because other people have helped me, that I really like. It does sum up Chisei's character as a whole. She's all about helping people and not letting people's efforts go to waste. I also like the brief moment where we see Isaac and catch perhaps a nod to how he was grown up with his insecurities and his upbringing, that boys shouldn't cry, they should bottle up their emotions, which is really sad, because you can see he looks quite lonely when he's looking out on a pile outwards to almost nothingness. And then the next scene is quite a nice contrast where Lucy openly says, I was crying. It's just the opposite between the two upbringings there. And I have to say, young Lucy speaking her mind is quite a nice little refreshing segment, because she pretty much says the truth. She does handle it quite well. Obviously angry, and she wants to know why. When she realises that Philomela can't tell her why or anything, and she wasn't allowed to say anything, and she starts saying, like, what could I have done? She still does stand up and say, what do you want? What is it that you actually want at this point? It's a very empowering sequence where a lot of truths start to come out. Everyone starts to talk very honestly and openly, and it was quite the moving sequence. I know up until this point I've been a little bit snoozing on the series a bit because the pace was glacial. This is a really powerful sequence, and I can imagine that in the manga itself, this is also a very nice detailed panels. There's a lot going on in this, and it really does speak volumes as well, where she eventually is able to say, I want to be saved, but then we have the big question, is it too late? Have you done too much? Is the curse now taken over to the point where we can't, because we've seen parts of her body falling off? Halfway through the episode, I was starting to wonder, would they kill Philomela off? Is it a possibility that they would have her apologise and then in the end she sacrifices herself to do good against the grandmother or something? Maybe that's how they end it. It would be very sad, but I also wouldn't want to put it against Ancient Magus Bride, because I do seem to remember this series being a lot more darker. So whether they would go there, maybe, I don't know, but it could be on the cards. So we'll have to see how next week plays out, because it would seem that she's definitely taken damage. Her body is still cracking. You can also see on Alcyone that she's taken damage too. There's cracks on her face, whether she's mimicking what's going on with Philomela as well, showing you that they're intertwined together as characters. There's a lot of really good stuff going on. I hope you guys have enjoyed the little bit of deep dive, and I've given you some colour theory to enjoy. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Look after yourselves and stay warm. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.